Hey man, congratulations on sneaking into the playoffs. I know that was a long shot, but everything went your way, and you got the seventh seed, man. Congrats.
We made
Did
it. We made it.
dude? Yeah, you made it like 3 days ago. Good afternoon, sports fans, and welcome to this Week 18 finale episode of the Trajan Temple Sportcast. I am your host, professional wrestler and Kansas City Chiefs fanatic, Christian Temple, joined alongside, as always, by the very lucky and very happy, terrible towel twirling Trajan. How are we doing at the end of this Week 18, my good sir?
I need to start gambling. I think my luck's turned around. Might win that Powerball. Who knows?
Well, your luck may be turning, but my God, if you have clean pants after that overtime game with the Raiders and Chargers, you are a liar, sir. Holy smokes, what an incredible Week 18. The best Week 18 in the history of the NFL because it's the first. But that's besides the point. This was so much fun to cover this week. Just from the Saturday games, as much as they really didn't mean a whole lot. It was nice seeing the Chiefs get the victory, to the Houston Texans almost coming in clutch against the Tennessee Titans, overcoming a 21-point deficit to take the lead, only to fall at the very end, to the Indianapolis Colts choking, absolutely choking, to the Jacksonville Jaguars and ruining their playoff plans, to the close overtime victory the Steelers had over the Baltimore Ravens, and of course the coup de grace, the piece de resistance, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders nearly going to the tie at the end of overtime, which would have been just absolutely debilitating,
Heartbreaking.
heartbreaking as a Steelers fan. I can only imagine. So we will start with the Steelers first here too. Obviously, as I mentioned, final score 16-13. The Steelers take it in overtime.
Gosh, no, I mean, it's just crazy. I started out the day like we're not going to make it to the playoffs. This is Big Ben's last game. Um, and then I'm checking in on the score, and Jacksonville, they go up 3-0. I'm like, okay, okay. Or it may have been a
It was
touchdown.
a
I don't know,
touchdown.
but they were up
It,
at the bat.
it was a touchdown. That's right. Yep.
Touchdown, then they had a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I'm looking at my game, and I'm like, maybe we're up 3-0. And then they, of course, get a field goal, and then they get a touchdown. And it's like, oh my gosh, this might get away from us. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win, and we're going to lose. Big Ben does Big Ben things. I mean, stat wise, he broke 200 yards. I mean, that's good for the last few weeks. So 30 for 44, 244 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. That one interception was at the end of the half there, so I discounted a little bit there. But stat-wise, no one really had a great game. Chase Claypool led rushing on his 3 attempts, so 33 yards, 3 attempts. Najee, he carried the ball 11 times. They were stopping our run games. 28 yards. Pat Fryermuth came in clutch, 53 yards. Deontay Johnson, 51. But the real story is the defense. We smothered them. We got interceptions when we needed to. One key one right in the end zone when they're just about to put us away. I give my hat off to the defense there. TJ tied the sack record. Should have broke it, but NFL does NFL things. And so they stole that from him, like his DPOY for the last few years. But it was just it was good. We go into overtime. Boswell nails it through the uprights. I'm thinking we're in. No way no way this is going into a tie. And so I watched the game a little bit. They're up 29-14. I'm like, turn that off. Raiders are going into the playoffs. We're done. Start watching a show with my wife. Check the score. 29-29. I'm like, what just happened here? We're going into overtime. Like, we got to turn this game back on. I got to watch this. And just crazy. It looked like they were going to tie the game. It really looked like they were going for the tie.
It sure seemed like towards the end of the overtime period, both teams were consigned to a tie. They were ready. Just we've beaten each other up enough. One of our players just got carted off the field. We've traded field goals in overtime already. What more do we have to prove to each other? And then it happened. The potential Coach of the Year candidate, Mr. Brandon Staley, calls timeout on 3rd down. And sure enough, the Raiders change up their game plan and run it down their throats, puts them in field goal range for Carlson to end the dreams of Justin Herbert getting a potential playoff run and keep the hopes alive for the Yinzer Nation. And it was a funny, it's fun. I don't watch much of the Pittsburgh Dad YouTube channel, but Trajan showed me the video earlier today, and it was pretty funny. One of the ending lines in that episode was, I need an MRI and a hoagie. And I might eat the hoagie while having the MRI. And that was probably the complete and total just the feelings of Steelers fans everywhere. Holy smokes, our hearts are pounding out of our chests. How in the world did this happen? How did it get this close to being the way we exit the playoffs before we even get in them?
My theory is the Jags angered the football gods. They're like, hold up, you weren't supposed to do that. They're trying to figure things out, and they couldn't get things right.
They tried to make things right at the very end, but in the end, it was the matter of a timeout and a team deciding that they wanted the win more than just a playoff spot. So the Las Vegas Raiders, not the team I would have guessed to crawl into the playoffs, but my hat's off to them. They have a tough task at hand in front of them with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I guess wish them all the best. It's Derek Carr's first playoff game as a starting quarterback as 2016.
Injured this week.
He could get injured beforehand, but he will finally get a chance, at least on paper, to start as quarterback against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, moving on from that game, as I mentioned on Saturday night, but it bears repeating. Let's hear it, Kingdom. How about those Chiefs? 28-24, the streak is still alive, and it goes to 13 straight wins over the Denver Broncos. Holy smokes, but did they make things really tough on us this time? And it was, almost, and I really mean almost, feel for the Denver Broncos. They have found new and creative ways to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly. Like, this was probably their best played game defensively, and even Drew Lock, as ineffective as he was, passing, he figured out he can run up the gut, that's constantly been the Chiefs' Achilles heel, their rush defense there. And when you've got a quarterback that can be a threat on his feet, as well as a deadly running back duo of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, you think you'd have the odds there too. But as far as offense, Patrick Mahomes, 27-44, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, QBR 99. Pretty pedestrian day, only 270 yards. Receiving, a name that has not been called out a lot too, but I'm absolutely proud of him because this is his first 100-yard rushing season as a Chief. Mecole Hardman, 8 receptions for 103 yards, including a 44-yard reception that ultimately iced the game. But we shall move on to the best play of the game. The greatest play of the game. The Chiefs are down 20-21. You know, they kick 2 straight field goals. They get the deficit down to 1. But now the Broncos are driving. Now the Broncos are moving down the field. And now they've got first and goal about the 6-7 yard line, something like that. Drew Lock takes the snap, goes to hand it off to Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Ingram just barrels through the offensive line. And I mean, as soon as Drew Lock makes contact with Melvin Gordon to take the handoff, Ingram is there, pow, right in the kisser. Ball comes out, and my boy, man, I have talked very highly of this kid ever since the Titans game, and he just keeps continuing to impress me. Nick Bolton, Johnny on the spot, picks it up, takes off down the field. No one's going to catch him. Goes all the way, takes the lead. The Chiefs get the 2-point conversion for the game-winning defensive touchdown. I mean, you just don't see something like that where the game just turns on its head. Immediately impacting the momentum that the Broncos had, and just the man, you kind of gotta feel bad for the fans. That camera crew did some of those fans dirty. Just immediately shoots to the most distraught fans in Denver. It's just some or even just face palming and all that. Just whoever's in charge of the cameras that pan the crowd, my goodness, they did their job of getting the emotion that the Broncos fans felt, and I feel for them. I know exactly how they felt for a play like that, because that just seemed like, oh, that's a total Chiefs way to lose games right there. But as it stood, the Kansas City Chiefs come out. Unfortunately, in a perfect world, the Texans would have completed the comeback and taken down Tennessee, and the Chiefs would have the number 1 seed for the second consecutive year. But I am more than content with having home field advantage going through the majority of the playoffs. And who knows, if the Titans lose, then maybe the Chiefs can get another AFC Championship game at Arrowhead. But there will be some traffic in the road to the Super Bowl, as we will preview here in the next moment. But before we do that, we are going to take a little trip down memory lane. So some of you may recall, probably about in May of this previous year, we did a little prediction of who we thought was going to make the playoffs. So here are the predictions that we had going into the season last year. Obviously, the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs were the predictions for both of our teams. We both believed that the Pittsburgh Steelers would take the AFC North. Unfortunately, that did not come into fruition. The Tennessee Titans taking the South, that was a pretty obvious pick, although the Colts did make it interesting for a little bit. And the Buffalo Bills taking the AFC East, although the New England Patriots definitely gave them a run for their money a little bit beforehand. But before we get to the wild cards here too, obviously we were 3 for 4 on this one, and neither of us could have easily predicted that the Cincinnati Bengals, of all teams, would be the team that would take over that spot this year.
No, and I would like to point out we might have won the division if the Chiefs did their job, but that's beside the point.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're just never going to let that go, are you? Well, like I said a couple weeks ago, I, for one, welcome our new Kings of the North here, too, as they have battled back and shown what kind of grit and determination they have, even with all the quote-unquote experts, and I do not mean us, predicting that other teams would take the AFC North, but we are far from experts, and even the experts themselves seem to... believe that they were not worthy of such a spot. But Will that sustain in the next few years? Maybe, maybe not. We shall see. But going into our wild cards, and actually I don't even really want to talk about it all that much in the AFC, but we were off on all three fronts. Cleveland's out, Baltimore's out, Miami is out. Although Miami was really close to making it happen, and it just baffles me the fact that they went ahead and fired Brian Flores, and who I didn't think was really the issue with Miami. I think he just needed maybe another year. Like, if another year he couldn't deliver a playoff, then maybe you consider it. But I think this was way too early, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially for someone that hasn't coached before, you got to give him time. I mean, there's a lot of duties that they have to learn and get well, and I mean, it's not going to happen overnight.
Absolutely not. But yep, moving on over to the NFC side of things too. We were really close. We were really close on the NFC West champion. No one believed in Arizona that they could make the playoffs, much less win the division, and it seemed like for a while that was what it seemed to be heading towards. But the Los Angeles Rams ended up taking over the West, with the Arizona Cardinals, in fact, making the playoffs. So at least we were correct in that assumption there. Green Bay, that was kind of a no-brainer. Tampa Bay, same thing. The competition wasn't really there. The NFC East, I really thought the Washington football team was going to sustain another year, but Dallas really came out this year guns a-blazing with a big chip on their shoulder, and they dominated the NFC East yet again, sweeping every single one of them, and just emphatically getting their championship back. So that was a good call over on Trajan's part.
Well, you got to remember, the NFC East doesn't repeat.
Aha, that's true. I should have known.
Ever since they have.
I should have remembered that. That was the straw that shook the camel's back. But then again, if I would have thought that, I probably would have picked the Giants. So, moving on to the wild card side of things, we had a feeling that there would be more than one. Actually, more than two NFC West teams making the playoffs. You were correct with the Los Angeles Rams. We were both very, very incorrect with the Seattle Seahawks, although, it's just one of those years. You can't have all four teams, being as dominant in that division. And San Francisco, as you called down below, you were correct in them making the postseason, and as well as myself and the LA Rams making it. So we're batting 500, at least in that front.
We were somewhat close, somewhat.
And much to our shame, we believe that another NFC North team would make it. Minnesota at least made it interesting for a while, but Detroit, Lucy, you've got some splaining to do. What was your rationale for Detroit? I forget.
I just figured the misery can only go for so long. I mean, last year we had the Browns getting into the playoffs. I was like, maybe this year it's Detroit getting in there and surprising a few people. I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Well, Detroit did surprise a few people, but not in the way that we anticipated. They surprised the Pittsburgh Steelers team by tying. They surprised my wild card pick, the Minnesota Vikings, by getting their first win of the season against them. So, well, you can't win them all, I guess. But though it's interesting, it's fun to look back on what we thought was to be determining factors in the playoffs, and then you get into the playoffs, and a lot of things change in I guess I was about to say in a 17-week season, but now an 18-week season. So
yeah, no, it's a lot of season there. I mean, there's so many different moving parts, especially with injuries this year. I mean, Cleveland and Baltimore got hit hard with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's hard to think, but yeah, no, I'm happy with the teams we got there, especially since mine's in it.
I do have to bring up one other point too. So going back to our score predictions back in back in May as well. Trajan actually called it for the Kansas City Chiefs that we would finish 12-5. So the losses don't quite match up, but I had to bring that up. That was pretty funny that prediction was actually accurate. Although his prediction for his Steelers was just a little bit off there.
You know, that was the prediction if the NFL wasn't rigged against us. So
now
no,
it's rigged against them, huh?
no, I'm just kidding. That's only deep player of the year. But no,
Oh.
uh, I mean, you guys struggled a little bit in the beginning. We struggled all year, but we made it. We both made it, and
Absolutely.
I think we can pat ourselves on the back for sticking through this season.
Absolutely. So that, of course, brings us to Sunday night, the rematch from Week 16. The Kansas City Chiefs will host the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Wild Card Weekend. Um, Man, this was not the scenario I imagined was going to happen earlier in the year. I figured we would meet again, maybe in the playoffs, maybe in the divisional round, or even in the championship game. But in a deal where the Chiefs should have had the number one seed but fell down to the second, and a situation where the Steelers, quite honestly, are extremely lucky to have snuck into the playoffs. These were not the circumstances that I would have guessed, and I don't think anyone would have guessed for us to have a rematch after Week 16. And it is going to be very interesting. Both teams will be getting key players back on offense and defense, with us getting Travis Kelce and Nick Bolton back, and you guys will have Pat Fryermuth and a couple of defensive players coming back that were not available in that game too.
Yeah.
So I am absolutely looking forward to this rematch here too. It is going to be. There's the spread, there's the over under and all that, but when it comes to playoff football, all bets are off. Anything can happen any given Sunday, and whether it's 1993 Wild Card Weekend, the win in overtime, or whether it's 2016 when it was only field goals that got the job done, the playoffs, it's the best time of the year as a football fan. You never know what you're going to get. All you can do is just sit back and enjoy the show. So,
All right.
looking forward to it. Sunday night, NBC at 7:15. We will not be doing a watch along. We will not be within a 10-mile radius of one another while this game is going on. But rest assured, there will be an episode following that game, because there's going to be a lot of shit talking going on during the game via text message that we'll have a lot of fun talking about. There will be a lot of highlights. There'll be a lot of lowlights we can talk about. And of course, we will look forward to talking about each and every single game that happens in the playoffs this year. And we hope you all join us rather every step of the way. Any closing thoughts this week, Trajan?
So we're not supposed to be here. We both can acknowledge that. And I think that makes us scary. I mean, you come in like, I'm just glad we're here. So the pressure, I think, is a little bit off of us. And so, it's definitely a very steep mountain to climb. But I think some Chiefs fans might be surprised.
Never count out Big Ben. He will not take no for an answer, especially since he tried to say no to the playoffs repeatedly. Nope. They found a way to sneak in there. So, but I am definitely looking forward to this game, especially having Travis Kelce back. I mean, this offense scored 36 points without him. So, hopefully, with him, they can make a little bit more noise out there too. So, but I'm just after just stretch here too. A nice comfy jersey here and all that, So a buddy of mine actually bought this for me after a bet we made,
You don't say. You don't say.
Well, speaking of which, you care to make a bet this time?
There will be no.
You heard it from the man. There will be no bets this time.
There will be great shame to one person
Mhm.
and great joy to the other.
Yes, yes,
And
there will.
shame is yours, and just know you'll never live it down.
Well, it'll be nice to finally have some catharsis because you still have not let me live down 2016. I have waited 5 long years for this moment to have retribution after, and the only thing that'd be better is if I was going to the game, but honestly, I can't. I want sleep the next day because I know I'm gonna have to work the next day. So I will just gladly enjoy staying up late watching the game at home and have happy dreams of seeing our defense stuff Najee Harris, seeing Kelsey catch dimes from Patrick Mahomes in the back of the end zone for another touchdown that takes the score up to 42-3, and just see the glorious look on Big Ben's dead corpse as we cremate his ashes all over all over Arrowhead Stadium in his final true resting place where he belongs under the might of Mahomes.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
So that is our shit talking for this show, and that is our show, our final regular season show. Next week, it's all about the playoffs, baby, and we hope you all are just as excited as we are. Please, please, if you can, share this video with all your friends. Click like if you really enjoy it. Hit subscribe if you want to follow along for more videos in the future. And Trajan and I, we hope that you enjoyed every single episode this season. Those of you that have followed us from beginning to end, we certainly appreciate all of you who has given us a chance to, and given us your time out of your day to give us a listen to. We, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all very much too, and we look forward to continuing this for many more weeks to come. So, on that note, thank you again, everybody, so much. This is Temple and Trajan signing off.